When they land, musicals live in our collective consciousness forever. They become a lens through which we see the world and our place in it. But they also mark the passage of time, reminding us not only of when and where we were when we first discovered them, but what we were capable of feeling. Part 2 of a conversation about contributing to the continuum of musicals are Jord Liu, Deepak Kumar, KAIT KERRIGAN, and Bree Lowdermilk. This is Ready When You Are with Timothy Huang. Okay, so Adam Glenn's birthday party.
Oh, okay.
No, I just, he used to, I mean, maybe he still does, and he stopped inviting me, but he used to have these parties at, like, Glass House, and we would all, like, go into the bar, and we would have drinks, and we would talk to whoever we wanted to. And I remember asking you this question about, like, division of labor. Like, how do you know who does what when both of you know both things so well? Like, that was my particular question. And that is my question for everyone at this table. But, like, I remember you said something to the effect of, and jump in if this is still true, because I don't want to, like...
I have no idea where we're headed.
You said, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for words.
Oh, yeah.
And Bree is responsible for...
I do believe that, like, because now I also do jobs where I'm the book writer or I'm the lyricist. And I think that there's it's healthy in a project, for me at least, to know where the buck stops. And it's really during tech. That's the point where everybody has a lot to do and a lot on their plate, and, like, how are you going to make a decision quickly? And who is the person who's going to be the one to make that quick decision? And when it comes, I will always trust Bree to make that musical decision. And I think generally in our collaboration, you will trust me on the words for the most part, and not necessarily on the story part of it, which I think actually gets a little messier in some ways, but that, like, if I'm like, no, I feel like this is the thing to say, I will probably be the winner of that. And if you're like, no, this is how it needs to sound, I will say, okay, great, I believe you. And, like, there's a level of trust that you're building over the course of that whole process, where you're listening to each other as deeply as you possibly can and trying to take in every piece of information and to kind of never make a decision without the other person, so that when you get to those moments of tech where you have to make quicker decisions or, like, previews, there is somebody who can take the lead, and everybody trusts that person to take the lead.
Gotcha.
Is I think how I kind of think about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that a lot of our shows are just listed as by KAIT KERRIGAN and Bree Lowdermilk, because, you know, the roles that we play shift a lot during the course of the process. I think what Kate's saying is really astute in terms of, like, and I was talking to Jord about this earlier too, like the way that, like, as a composer, for example, like, your job shifts over the life of a project, and you become at some point a music supervisor for your project, whether or not you wanted to be. Like, at a certain point, you're in charge of the orchestra, you're in charge of the music director, you're in charge of managing these people. And I do find that my ability to engage in deep story ideas while trying to do that same job, they're different parts of my brain. And I feel like I contribute different amounts of words at different parts of a process. When we're sitting around writing the first couple of songs, when we're writing, you know, when it's just us, like, I write all kinds of words, we do all kinds of things. At a certain point, you are in a process, and I mean, there are people who direct and produce, there are people who are multi-hyphenates who do many things, but I personally, like, as someone who does write words, does write lyrics, does write book, does write plays, I don't do them all at the same time. And frequently not on the same day. And, like, they really are switches that have to flip. And there are good reasons for that. For me, like, trying to follow one of the things I love about musicals is the deep irony of how you can have, like, dramatic stakes that are inverted or counteracted by musical stakes. I love how you can have music telling you one thing and text telling you something else, and the way that those things can conspire to make you feel something you weren't expecting for a character. And for me, it's often very hard to do those two things at the same time, if that makes any sense. And so one of the things I love about collaboration in musical theater is the ability to have someone else in the room who's focused on something very different than what I'm doing, whether that's a director or a choreographer. Yeah, and I mean, we've both had also now a lot of collaborations with other people too. One of the great joys of my life is when I don't have to worry about the music. It's just rare. But what I always kind of want is actually to not have to worry about the music, because there's a lot more budgets involved, and those are my least favorite thing.
Jord, do you ever not worry about the music?
No, I love music. First of all, I think that was an amazing answer, and it felt very relatable. We wrote our first show, like, consensus on everything, which meant it took forever, and then we started writing this second show, Lovedeep Singh and the Deep Love Singers, and at the start it was like, book by Deepak, music by Jord, and we kind of like made a first draft that way, sort of, and then I think we were both like, oh, we kind of miss writing together, so let's just write together for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, we also aren't at the place where we're like attacking a bunch of musicals and stuff, and so like perhaps we will learn that the buck needs to stop with someone somewhere, and that we'll figure that out. But I do think it's sort of in process. Like, we liked the first show that took forever to write. Everything was done by consensus. We liked that. We really liked writing together. It's also the first show that we wrote, and so obviously we liked it because it's the thing that you do the first time. The second time we thought perhaps we'll try something slightly different, and it was in fact way faster. I mean, like, truly way faster. And it also has all of these seams that are not enmeshed yet, and that we have to now go through the process of saying, well, how do we want to enmesh them, and should we just start from the beginning again and to do the consensus thing? And so we're figuring out, I think, the process. I don't know that we have a perfect answer quite yet, and maybe every project's going to be different. I don't know.
I mean, I gotta say, like, when you were kind enough to invite me to work on Baked with you, I had sort of had it in my head that Jord was in charge of music and you were in charge of words, just because Jord was at the piano so often.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I remember talking to you about something musical, and like you gave me the green light.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really weird. So it just got me thinking. Is all, you know. Yeah, I mean, consensus is a lovely thing. I'm now curious though about this idea of, you said we did that by consensus, then we didn't, and that was faster. Right, and earlier off camera you were saying about where you're at now, like faster is better, and well, not better, but like faster is advantageous. Can you talk about this?
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of making a living in theater, if you're going to try to make a living in theater versus like just making a beautiful piece of art, like those are two different things. And if you're going to try to make a living, having more horses in the race is a more efficient way to try to make a living, because you have a shot. I mean, it's all gambles. Everything you're doing is a gamble. It might take 2 years, and that's not true. It won't take 2 years. It will take more than 2 years. And it might, I mean, like, I have a show that is on Broadway that took 3 years from the time that we started writing songs for it to the day that it opened on Broadway. It was less than 3 years, which is insane.
Wow.
It doesn't happen. And that's the minimum. That is like actually maybe the full minimum, and in this day and age. And then, you know, we had a show that took 15 years, and so you don't know what's going to happen. And so for me as a person, I have 2 kids, making a living in this, and my husband also writes musicals, and so like we're making a living, and the idea of being able to do more projects for me gave me more less stress than trying to do fewer projects. And so, and doing one job on a show instead of doing 2 jobs on a show gave me more opportunities to work with more people and in more rooms. And it's been really exciting to be able to go back and forth between all those rooms and take the things that I learn more quickly, because I'm in so many different spaces, and I'm doing different jobs in different spaces. So sometimes I'm the lyricist on a project, sometimes I'm the book writer on the project, sometimes we're in the muck together on a project. And being able to go back and forth and learn from all these different people in all these different spaces creates a situation where I can, yes, go faster on a couple different levels, and also have a shot at more things possibly doing okay.
Right on. Bree, have you had that experience?
I mean, my brain wants to work on one thing at once. and wants to go deep. And there was on the Dramatist Guild TikTok this week, there was an old interview with Sondheim where he was talking about, I won't get it exactly right, but he was talking about why he only worked on one show at once and why it was imperative as a writer. The opposite of what Kate was saying, and in a very different climate, and he had a very different kind of career than I think any of us. What Sondheim was saying was that it's imperative to live inside of one project because the writing happens so often in like the off hours, and when you wake up and you work on it and you go to sleep, and like he was saying that like the writing happens while you're sleeping, it happens while you're going to see movies, while you're out talking to people, and all of that information like funnels in. And I found, as someone who, I've always wanted so deeply to only work on one thing at once, like that's what has always made sense for my brain, is to hyper focus on one project at once. It has not been an option in like the climate we live in, and that climate of professional musical theater. But the way I've been able to carve that out for myself is to just like have like little windows of time at least of like, okay, like I know for these couple of weeks I'll be going back and forth more frequently with this. But for me, I do find that there's a limit to how many projects I can hold in my brain at once, and actually feel like I'm feeding them and thinking about them. For me, there's a lot about what Sondheim was saying in there that felt like very true for my creative brain. In a way, it might not be as true for other folks.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to hear you talk about this because this is going to sound maybe a little crazy, but like from me, just with my eyes wide open, looking at the industry, I never once thought I could make a living writing musicals. And so my brain was like, well, I'm always going to have a job.
And both have other jobs.
And that may be and that may be the immigrant, that may be the Asian, I don't know what it is, right? But it's certainly, but I think a big part of it is also looking at the state of where we're at right now and saying, who are all the people that are around my level of generation that are able to, within, or even half a generation ahead of us, or 2 generations, or whatever. There's very few that are like so lucky. And so because of that, I think for me, it was always like, well, let me just take Sondheim's advice and work on one show at a time and be super frickin' slow. And if I'm gonna be slow and that's just going to be the life, then that's going to be life. It certainly reduces the number of shots at the barrel. And there's this impulse. I just said it. There's this impulse to write faster. There's always this impulse because it's like, oh, and then you see all of your friends, and then they have this thing, and they have this show, and then you feel jealous or nervous or whatever it is, right? And then, so of course there's this impulse, but I think there's a part of me that is like, I can't do more than one at a time. And that's like play or musical. Like it's like one legit one thing. And part of that is time. Part of that is I kind of like it that way. And that may mean that I'm working, it takes 3 times as long compared to contemporaries or something like that. But we've also, for the 2-3 shows that we've written so far, I feel like have been able to also still have some of the opportunities that other writers have had while also shooting a bunch at the barrel too. So,
you know what hybrids I've always been jealous of is anyone who has one foot in the door of being like a creative originator who originates original work and also an interpretive artist. Anyone who works on both sides of it is someone who's a playwright and also a director, someone who's a songwriter and also an actor and a performer, a Shayna Taub, like where you can have the experience of both having that deep experience of working for 10 years on something and also have the fertile potential of going through a dozen rooms in a year, of going through tons of different creative processes. I feel like for me, I'll find myself in conversations when I have the luxury of being in a conversation with set designers or costume designers or lighting designers, and they're asking me questions. I'm like, my last conversation with the lighting designer was 3 years ago. I don't know. Honestly, your third assistant is gonna have a better answer because they've done more productions in the past few years than I do.
Well, and something you're talking about too is actually the lack of apprenticeship that we have in our world. You take any kind of designer, any kind of director, any of those people are going to be coming up through the ranks and being able to watch someone else do their job and learn from that person on the job, and then they become the lighting designer, or then they become the director, and they have that, all of those different rooms, and they do it for multiple people, and we don't have that in writing in the way that we ought to. Like even script assistants, like it's people who came actually through either dramaturgy or through mostly stage management who end up doing those jobs, and they're not well paid, but they're also not seen as like apprenticeship kind of jobs at all.
No, totally.
And so we don't go into those rooms unless we're one of the powerful people in the room, which is really unfortunate. And I do think it's one of the reasons that I crave doing lots of projects so much, is because my favorite thing about it is learning about other people and the way that they creatively make things, and I wanna like better that.
More, give more, feel it more, become the song but still be real. Be me at the club, I guess. Is this accessible to me? How can I bring my whole thing into this track? Cold, don't hold back. Don't think about the booth. Don't think about the mic. Don't think about the mic in your face. Leave this place, leave the booth. There's no booth. Just us, the three of us. Back when our lives were small, sitting in the hall after school. No one could touch that cool. Yeah, I can't bring my whole thing into this track. I won't hold back, and I'm finally finding more. I close my eyes and find my voice. I open wide and make the choice. I give it all I've got to give. Like I got nothing else to live for. What's more, I find the swagger, I find the ease. I see them beaming, I see them pleased. Through the ceiling, such a breeze, it's so appealing. What's it more of me? Yeah, I'm giving more of me, yeah. No 9 to 5 can reach this peak. Yeah, I'll be feeling this all week. There's nothing like that high so rare. Free seltzer water, don't compare. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Anyways, quick fire number 2. What was the longest time you went without creating something, a song or a lyric or a play or an idea?
I think, I'll answer this from once I started writing theater. Honestly, I think it's like the last 6 months.
Okay.
I haven't written anything in 6 months, and we've started maybe in the last couple of weeks, with a lot of intention, because it was a crazy busy year, and I had a world premiere, for the first world premiere ever for a play that I had written in San Diego, and like a playwrights conference or something in the summer, and then it was like, I'm dead.
Okay.
I'm actually like totally done, and I feel like I've been running in this life, or in this theater life for 10 years, and it's great, and it's so fun, and the highs are so high, and the lows are low, and whatever, and you're sort of on the wave. And then at some point, I really looked at myself, and I was like, I need to stop. Because if I don't stop, I'm gonna start hating this. And I'm gonna start, it doesn't matter if it's a new project, doesn't matter whatever, I'm gonna start being sad. And like, I came to try and write, and I would find myself being like,
Okay.
I don't have anything.
So follow-up question, what got you back into it? Because you said that you recently started.
I honestly, I think it's just writing with Jord
He
again.
just- he just
I
missed
think it's
me.
just writing. I just miss Jord.
missed me.
I think it's writing with Jord
He,
again.
he does not call me except to like be like, hey, should we write?
This is not the place
He
for
does
this.
not. He does not visit me except to like see a reading.
Wow. She's attacking me on this podcast. Which is also untrue. But anyway, it is the case that I think we just started writing together, and we like writing together. So it's bringing me out of it. Yeah.
Okay, Jord?
I have not gone long times without creating stuff. I'm not creative all the time. There's often like several days or weeks between when I'm doing stuff. But I feel like I take a very slow pace, but it's kind of like, it's very interwoven into my life, I feel like.
Right on. May that never change. No, for real, I want that for you.
Thanks, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I look at people who are very, very driven, and I really, really admire that. If anything, I am worried that I'm going too slow. I'm like, aspirationally, I would like to be like, oh, it's a marathon. I'm gonna go at this sustainable pace forever and always feel really, really good. But, you know, not aspirationally, like, there's a chance it'll just be like, oh, that was it. and then it's just done.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance of that. Let's move on, shall we?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like because I tend to have at least a couple irons in the fire all the time, I feel kind of similarly. Like, I feel like I'm very, I just kind of put one foot in front of the other and do the thing that's in front of me. And so certainly there's times where you procrastinate, you do all those kinds of things. But I mean, the beginning of the pandemic was really weird. Like, I didn't know if our jobs would exist anymore. And then we started making a thing. And then and it wasn't me, I didn't start it, but like I got called in and I made a thing. Like, so like, and we made a thing. So like, I don't know, I guess I have I don't have a memory of like not doing something.
That's great.
And my mom always talked about how there was no such thing as like writer's block or like creativity block. She always talked about gathering periods. So I think I never felt bad about like taking the time between things and being like, oh no, I need to go to a museum, I need to see something, and I think, or read a book, so I don't think of those things as not being creative. I think of those as the parts where you're fueling yourself so that you can keep going. So I don't know. I haven't thought about it in those terms, I guess.
Is your mom a writer?
She's an artist. So she was a sculptor and a painter.
Wow.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of things from Kate's mom that really impacted me as a writer. She taught me about underpaintings, about painting in a whole painting, and then painting on top of it, and just letting letting the whole draft go. It was really beautiful. I'm similar to the two of you, I would say. And what you were saying about like running straight into burnout, basically, that really resonates for me. Like, and so that's something where usually it's cyclical. Usually every 5-10 years, I'll hit a place where there's been 3 or 4 where I'm doing a big sprint where you're going deadline to deadline to deadline. And I've been really consistently good in my life of seeing it coming. And I remember the first time I did it that I fucked off on a road trip for 2 months. And I remember you sitting with our agent, and he was like, I haven't talked to Bree. And like, and Kate's like, oh, Bree's driving across the country. And
Bree's writing.
And Kate's like, she does this every once in a while. And he's like, how often? And Kate's like, pretty often. like she'll be back in 2 months and she'll jump right back into things. But I'll just like notice these windows of time where I'm like, oh wait, I'm good. It's okay for me to be burned out. It's okay for me to not look at anything. But it's usually like 2 months is usually the amount of time I can go before my brain starts to be like, where it actually resets, is to take 2 months and not generate anything.
So the reset is a result of 2 months of time.
Yeah, it really is. And I would say that has actually been one of the hardest things of being a mom now, is that like I don't have the free, I'm very, very lucky to have my child and all these things, but like, it's actually been the burnout, like not being able to treat the burnout the way I care to.
Yes.
I can't go run away for 2 months now. I can't
Mm-hmm.
recover in the same way from it. I can hit the deadlines, but then I'm still in it. And so I haven't figured out for myself what that means yet, because that ability to throw it down and walk away for 2 months and then come back is what makes it sustainable for me to then come back and be in tech rehearsals or be in like multiple deadlines and things like that. Because you need a break at some point.
You totally need a break.
Yeah.
That actually segues into my next quick fire question, which is one artistic belief or practice you've held fast to since day one. Like, would you consider that part of that practice, is taking the 2 month break?
No.
Great.
No, I was raised on terrible ideas of like martyrdom and like self-flagellation and just like, I don't know. I mean, I came from a long line of self-loathing Jews, just like really just trying to like figure out how to be like the most miserable artist. And I've been doing everything I can to learn from like the Elizabeth Gilbert hippies out there how to just like love your artistic practice. But it's a fucking battle for me, let me tell you. No, the lessons that I've kept with me that I love are like the adages of like great writers steal, the Sondheim principles of like of content dictates form, like things like that, like just those truths that you can come back to that feel like, okay, the sky is blue, like the same way you come back to your breath, I can come back to some of those essential and I would say in that is also 5-act structure, like, and I do find that certain kinds of structural principles or motive and repetition or statements and recapitulations in music, like just to go, oh, I just know that I can be in a symphony form. I know I like an AABA, just I feel so safe just knowing that I can come back to a third A section and everything, and it will always feel like a third A. Like the world makes sense, especially when you like, look at like our politics or our media or our, and like nothing makes sense. I'm like, that third chorus just always feels good when you get there.
Kate, anything to add?
For me, the two, like I guess on a practice level, I believe in changing location. If you get stuck, you change location. You go to a different place. You take a shower. Like you just like, it's okay that you're stuck, and you just do something else, and then you come back. And so I think that's like one of the biggest principles that I work with. And then the other thing that I firmly believe is that writing is rewriting, and so therefore, and you become a writer when you're rewriting, and that there's lots of people who write first drafts or half drafts and things like that, and the people who are writers go back and they fix it, and they go back and they rewrite. And so I think that takes the pressure off of draft one, is that it has to exist so that you can rewrite it, and that's the goal, is to just have it be something on a page, so that then you can come back to it and actually look at it and try to figure it out.
We're done.
Yeah. Well,
Tori?
I got nothing. Come back to me.
Okay. I think the thing that I've learned a lot, and it's changing a lot as I continue to write more things, but one thing I think is always true is I am super unprecious. But I spend a lot of time on stuff, so it's not actually like, people will say like the shitty first draft sort of thing. Like, I actually have a really hard time doing a shitty first draft, and I think that that's okay. But even once I get to a first draft that I'm like really, really proud of, I'm ready to throw it out because I'd like to start again, because I already know there's a million things. So I think for me it's like, and that's something we've learned in our collaboration. I think I'm way more like, just chuck it.
You are amazing at that.
I'm like, it's not working. And George's like, shut up. I wrote this. I'm like, it's not working. And so I've learned to just be doing that for stuff that I've written. So it's
She's like, maybe what
lead
you
by
wrote's
example.
not working, but I wrote working.
Deepak had a banger tweet long ago that was like, kill your darlings, except for the ones that are really, really good. And honestly, what do you know about my darlings?
Love it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, only I get to kill my darlings, but I kill them a lot.
That's fair.
It might be obvious to other writers, but that is the thing that I really admire about you, is that you really believe that if you keep working on something, it will get better. Yes. And I honestly, sometimes I'm like, do I believe that in my heart? Sometimes I'm like, if a song doesn't come out And it's like, because the best songs, like, they come out so easy, and it's
Yeah.
got it in one, and like, there it is.
Yeah.
And then you work, like, the ones that it's like, you work it, and da-da-da-da-da, it's kind of like, maybe I should just like try again to get it in one, like, whatever. But I don't think that serves me as much as like, the reason I've learned so much from our collaboration, I think, is because you believe in your heart that if you keep working on it, it gets better. And that is what I've learned
That's
from you.
true.
And I do believe that's true. And I only believe that's true because of you.
Yeah, I think, oh, that's so sweet. But I think one thing that's true also in what we have learned from doing this is like, you have to do something every week. You know, like maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's, but it has to be, I mean, you have to meet every week and you have to do something.
Yeah.
Even if it's just you talk about stuff for, 30 minutes or an hour and you didn't write anything, you have to keep it in there because after 5 years, you'll have met once a week for 5 years and you'll have something.
Right on.
That's it.
Jord, what you just said right now just resonated with me so deeply, and I do think it's really shaped me as a writer, that experience of, like, you can't just keep coming back to a song and rewrite. Like, sometimes you just one-shot it, and you do, and it's just a good song, and, like, frequently the songs that you struggle most with, you'll keep struggling with those songs, and you have to kind of know when to cut and run, and it's interesting that that's been just like a hallmark in our collaboration of like learning when to let go of a song and go, actually don't. And it's something that like in working with text and working on and working in other forms, like I'm trying to let go of some of what I learned from like, there's something that's magic about songwriting sometimes that I can't name and doesn't seem to follow the rules the way I want it to.
Well, but it goes back to that Elizabeth Gilbert thing of like
Yes.
there are moments when, and whether or not this is like true or it just feels true, that idea that genius is not a thing that you are, it's a thing that visits you, is something that I think is something that I think you can feel very purely when you're writing a song in a way that maybe you can't feel it quite as purely when you're writing words, because words are more connected to your the part of your brain that is logical. But in any case, whatever you're writing, there's sometimes where you just get this flow that's incredible, and it's so lovely, and if only you could always have it. But then the like craft of it is being able to work through it when you don't have flow state. And both things are super valid.
Yeah.
But then also the thing that you're both talking about is like the part that's about having to chuck it and having to recognize when you need to just chuck it versus like keeping at something and seeing if like it's kind of like is the kernel there or is the kernel not there?
Yeah.
And like starting to figure out when that exists and when it's like no, don't walk away yet. We can fix this. Or it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. What do we need?
I want to take a moment now just to thank you all for coming because that's actually our time. So
Thank you for having
all.
us.
Such a blast.
So fun.
I'm sorry, but not sorry. I talked about Wicked so
I was
much.
like, you're such a
Blame
Wicked
my
fan.
toddler.
You
Blame
love
my
Wicked.
toddler. I do love Wicked.
This is an ad for
We
Wicked.
were all thinking it pretty. I guess that's our show. Writing a musical is hard. Believe me, I've written like 5 of them all by myself. It takes mastery of craft, boundless patience, devotion to curiosity, and an unteachable ability to listen. But chief among the impossible tasks that writing a musical demands is the willingness to let the work have its own identity, to take the leap and trust in your ability and your audience. We are Deepak Kumar, Jord Liu, KAIT Kerrigan, Bree Louddermilk, and Timothy Huang. And we're ready when you are.
Jord, how do you feel today? Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you most excited about? Okay, too late.
Oh my god. This is so curated.
But it's funny when you said I was like,
It's brilliant.
okay, by my desk.
Why are you still on?
You don't like that?
It's like part of it.
I mean, it is part of it. Chop their shirt up. And then at dinner, I think